Namaste, beloveds. I am so thrilled that you've signed up and have joined the Advanced Skills program, because actually when I give the Journey Intensive, I give it as a 3-day program, because the final day, the Advanced Skills, will give you those little tools that you need that can really make a quantum difference in the quality of your processing. It can bring you the completion that you seek. And if you struggle with any part of the process, as most people do the first time they do any process, well, this will give you the tools that you need to get the completion that you seek, to feel the wholeness, to feel the liberation. And so I'm really thrilled. This is actually our most powerful day, because after you've done an emotional journey and a physical journey, you're at a place where you're really ready to dive in and use these very powerful, potent, but often quite short advanced skills to really clear anything that takes place at your campfire. It allows you to go down through the layers very facilely and very relaxed and very openly emotionally. And so it'll make you feel by the end of the day where you've actually gone through a journey process, an emotional journey using the advanced skills. You will feel that you could use this work with anybody and get the result that you're looking for. So always at every day that I give a Journey Intensive, on the final day, the Advanced Skills Day, I give the DNA Cleanse meditation. And I always like to start by bringing us into that stillness. And I shared a little bit about the DNA and our emotions at the Journey Intensive, but I don't know how long ago it was that you took it, but there is a field called epigenetics. And what they have found, it's a scientific field, which is the study of our DNA. And they found that not only do the physical propensity for illness get passed on. So for instance, if a friend of yours has been diagnosed with breast cancer and they go to their oncologist, the first question the oncologist will ask, well, who in your family had breast cancer or had cancer of any kind? Because they've known, actually since the 1950s, that propensity for illness gets passed down through our DNA from the previous generations. Now, in recent decades, they've found it's deeper even than that, that the emotional issues and the traumas and the pain that our parents and our forebears went through has been passed down into our DNA. And so often the emotional issues that you uncover in a journey process aren't even your own. You might even uncover a cell memory from your parents or grandparents or great-grandparents. And right now they're saying that it's between 4 and 6 generations of these emotional patterns and themes and traumas that get passed on to us generationally. And so the reason we do a DNA cleanse is, okay, we can't change that it got passed on to us, but we sure as heck can change that it doesn't go forward from us, and to clear our own bodies and beings from these patterns, these emotional issues that never were ours to begin with. And so I thought I'd take us into that DNA cleanse now. And like with all meditation, it's a time for you just to relax and open your heart, open your being. And so let's all of us take a nice deep breath in, letting it out, and closing your eyes, and taking in a deep breath in of openness and breathing that into the room. And willingness, breathing that into the room. And trust. Trust in yourself, in your soul, in life, in one another. Breathing that into the room. And just feel your body and your being beginning to open now and relax. Just relaxing. and letting your heart be as wide as the world. Wide enough to include not only all the emotions that live inside of you, but even your ancestors' emotions and patterns and themes. That's how vast this infinite love is, that is your own essence. And just feeling your awareness, how open and spacious and free it is in front of you. How boundless and spacious and free it is behind you. And endlessly free to all sides of you. And you're just resting now in a vast, open sky of all acceptance. And into this open sky now, imagining that there's a campfire in front of you. And the nature of this campfire is unconditional love. And at this campfire, I'd like to invite a younger you, present day you, and also a mentor whose divine wisdom you trust. It can be a sage or saint, an enlightened master, but it's someone in whose presence you feel safe and in whose wisdom you trust. Now, I'd like you to look at and get a sense of the younger you. And the younger you is appearing in front of you. And I'd like there to be an energy younger you, made up of particles, of molecules, of lights, of cells, and spaces in between, letting this energy body right now step outside that younger you. So in front of you is an energy body of yourself, made up of molecules, space, light, and cells. And so looking at that energy body, extracting one cell from that energy body and blowing it up, letting it be very large in front of you. And knowing that whatever happens with one cell happens simultaneously at the same time with all cells in the body. So it's good enough to work with one cell. Now inside that cell is a DNA strand. And the DNA strand looks like a ladder that's in a spiral shape. And the rungs of the ladder are your genes. And so it too is made up of particles, and it's made up of light. And so extracting this spiral ladder, your DNA strand, that is made up of particles of light and the spaces in between, from your cell. And so in front of you is this huge DNA strand. Now, if you'll notice in life, in our DNA strand, some of our genes seem to be turned on. Some are lighter, some are darker. And in scientific terms, they call this being expressed or unexpressed. And what we do know about the DNA is that certain qualities get expressed, i.e. switched on in our lifetime. And certain genes get turned off or remain unexpressed. And they first started doing this DNA research on rats. And they found that there's actually a compassion gene in a rat. And if that rat gets fondled and licked in its life, the compassion gene will actually switch on. It'll become expressed. And when it gives birth to a baby rat, the baby rat, its compassion gene will already be switched on. But if the baby rat is not licked and fondled and has affection coming towards it, that gene will turn off. It will become unexpressed. And then when it gives birth to a baby rat, that baby rat will be born with that compassion gene unexpressed, switched off. Now, certainly, if a rat has a compassion gene, well, we as human beings have the same. And we have all kinds of genes, not just for the way that we look, but for the way that we feel. And so I'd like you to just take a look at your DNA strand, which looks like this ladder that's spiralized, made up of particles. And bring your mentor here. And I'm going to ask the mentor to point to genes that are unexpressed, that need to be switched on, that are health-giving, life-giving, that are liberating and healing for you. And I'm actually going to ask the mentor to point to those genes that are switched on that are debilitating, that are unhealthy for you, that are damaging or limiting you in some way. So we're going to consciously choose which genes we wish to turn on and have fully expressed, and which genes we wish to turn off, those that aren't serving us anymore. And so since I mentioned the compassion gene, just trust, let the mentor go and point to that gene on your DNA strand. And if it's not turned on, although I'm pretty sure it probably is, because you're doing this work and it requires compassion, but nonetheless, go have the mentor point to that gene and switch it on, which is this ability to feel compassion, to feel with. Compassion means to feel with. So switching that one on is as if you're communicating to the infinite intelligence. You're choosing to switch on that gene. Now, because there's been enlightened masters throughout all ages and times, it must mean that we as human beings have the capacity for enlightenment, to live in the freedom, knowing that we are connected to all of existence in love, in freedom. And so go ahead and right now find that enlightenment gene and have the mentor take that pointing stick and point it towards that enlightenment gene, where you're giving yourself full permission to realize your infinite nature, to live in this love that is yourself, to live as an expression of the peace that's here, the joy that's here. So switch that enlightenment gene on. Now there's bound to be another gene that is the ability to heal. And very often our ancestors felt that they weren't able to heal, that other people somehow were able to heal, but they were not able to heal. And this capacity to heal, our bodies are healing machines. They're actually designed to heal. And so if the consciousness of an ancestor has said, we're not allowed to heal, we don't have permission to heal, I don't deserve to heal, I'd like you to find this gene that is your ability to heal, regardless of what other people believe. This capacity for the body to heal. And so find that, point the stick at it, and switch it on. Now, many of us feel that we do not have the right to fully be expressed as ourselves. We don't feel that we're allowed to feel all the emotions that are here. It's almost as if some emotions are allowed and some emotions are not allowed. Very likely that's been a conditioning that's been passed on to you from previous generations. And so this ability to feel our emotions freely and naturally, to wholly be yourself, There is a gene for that because there are people who are able to feel their emotions very freely and naturally. And so again, go ahead and switch that one on. I'm allowed to feel openly and naturally. I'm allowed to be myself. Now, there may be a gene in there where you're supposed to keep a lampshade over your light, where we've been taught from birth that we have to keep our heads down, that we have to keep small. I mean, in Australia, they call that the tall poppy syndrome. Anytime one poppy gets higher than the rest, you're going to get your head cut off. And so from the time we are very young, we are taught that we're not allowed to let our greatness shine. We're not allowed to let our full divine potential be expressed. We have to fit into the norm, fit the mold, be like everybody else. And so we don't want to be shining or better than anyone else. And so I'm going to call this the lampshade gene. This is where we put a lampshade over our full divine potential and we keep ourselves small. We fit into the mold of the norm. And if that one is turned on, which in most of us, in most countries, it is turned on, I'd like to ask you to have the mentor switch it off. Have the mentor switch that one off, turn it off, let it go dark, and instead find the greatness gene. The gene where there's been throughout all time, there's been genius, there's been artistic genius, there's been spiritual genius, there's been people whose innate greatness somehow has been allowed to shine. And the truth of the matter is that greatness gene is in all of us. We all have inherent greatness, spiritual greatness, mental greatness, artistic greatness. And so wisdom greatness, enlightenment greatness. So just finding this greatness gene where you are free to let your full divine potential, your artistic potential, your mental potential, allow it fully to shine. So let the mentor find that and switch it on. It's as if you're saying to your soul, this lifetime, this one's allowed to be fully expressed. Now finding another gene, a gene where there's judgment and criticism of yourself. Usually for most of us, that one is already turned on, and I would like for that one to be turned off. So locate your judgment gene where you're judging others, you're judging yourself, and have the mentor point to it and switch it off. And now instead, find a gene, which is your capacity to love, your capacity to connect, your capacity to both give love and receive love. And have the mentor point to it and right now switch it on. Switch it on. And go ahead and find your creativity gene, however that gets expressed in your life. Locate it, have the mentor switch it on. And then another gene where you have full permission to experience the joy of life, to love life, to laugh, to be free. This full permission to be joyous, to love life, to be free. Our parents may have gone through things where they didn't feel that they had permission to do that. And that will have been passed down through the DNA to us. So find this gene, which is probably turned off, and have it switched on. Just point to it, switch it on. You are free to feel joy, feel laughter, fun, to really love life. And now if there's any other genes that you would like to personally turn on or turn off, to let them be expressed or unexpressed, speak out loud. It has to be done out loud. Speak it out loud first, locate it, and either switch it on or switch it off. So just give yourself a minute right now to speak out loud what other genes you wish to turn on or turn off. You know the way you lived and what your parents were like, and what would be healthy for you to turn on and what would be healthy for you to switch off. So on the count of 3, just speak out loud and start turning them on and off. 1, 2, 3. Any conditioning that has not supported you, not liberated you, not healed you, it can be turned off. Any conditioning that allows for health and joy and freedom, wisdom, truth, intelligence, creativity, turn those on. Okay. Now I'd like to ask you to bring your parents right now, and if you don't know who they were, if you were adopted, bring both the parents that were your birth parents, even if you don't know who they are, and the adoptive parents, and everyone else who bring your birth parents. And I'd like to ask you to say, let the younger you say some words to your parents. And first of all, say to them, and they behind them should have their parents. So your grandparents, and then your great-grandparents, and then the great-great-grandparents. And just as if the forebears are all lined up, but in the front are your parents. And say to your parents, first of all, thank you with all my heart. Say this out loud. Thank you with all my heart for passing on to me all that you felt would help me most, and all of your beliefs. And I would like to ask, say this out loud, I would like to ask for your permission now to free myself from the beliefs, the emotions, and the themes that I've been carrying that no longer support me. And so I'd like to ask you, Mom, you, Dad, for permission to free myself from these unhealthy beliefs, conditioning, and emotions and patterns that got passed on through my DNA. And then say to them, and I give you full permission to free yourselves from any unhealthy conditioning, patterning, emotional shutdowns that may have been passed on to you. Say that out loud to them. I know this journey work doesn't work unless it's done out loud. Otherwise, it just mills around in your head. And just say to them, I wholeheartedly give you permission to free yourself from anything that is not healthy or serving you. on any level of being. And then say from them to you, and I receive with all my heart your permission to free myself from anything unhealthy that was passed on to me through my DNA. And now imagining that there's an umbilical cord, an energy tie, tying you to both your parents, or all four if they're adoptive and birth parents. And there's this huge energy cord, almost like an umbilical cord, that has tied you to the generations that have come before you. And go ahead and have an angel come and just sever the cord between you and your forebears. And let this energy of love, of wholeness, of healthy ways of being, this consciousness of freedom, of enlightenment, of compassion, of permission to heal, the capacity to heal, to live as your greatness and your full creativity, all of what is capable for us as human beings. Let the full power of that go shooting on down now into your parents and their great-grandparents and right through the generations. And let that same consciousness come pouring into the body of the younger you. And now letting the ancestors melt into the light, knowing they have permission just as you do. And right now, the DNA strand is going to appear in front of you. And it has all the switched on and switched off DNA strands. And I'd like that DNA strand to now get a divine spiritual shower and the divine infinite presence of grace. It knows which ones should be turned on and which ones should be turned off. And a deluge of grace is washing it clean. Just seeing that happening, transmuting the consciousness of the old into this most brilliant, shining, life-giving, love-giving, liberating, healing consciousness. And now taking that DNA strand and putting it inside that huge cell. And now let the sheath of the cell be washed by this divine spiritual shower that's just washing it clean like a divine solvent. Just washing it clean, washing the inside of the cells as it permeates it like a waterfall of grace through osmosis, coming right through the cell and washing it clean. And of course, when it's happening with one cell, it's happening with all cells. And now taking that large cell and putting it now inside the energy body and seeing that energy bodies, which is just made of molecules of light and cells, letting this deluge, this spiritual shower of light, of energy, of love, of enlightenment, of health and wholeness, creativity and freedom. Just let it deluge and wash the energy body clean. Just letting it drench it and shower it and drench it. And now letting the energy body step into the physical form of the younger you. And you're at the campfire again. And opening a hole in the top of the head of the younger you and letting this huge deluge of grace, this spiritual shower, this waterfall of grace, just wash the younger you clean, letting every single molecule scintillate with aliveness. Every space in between is saturated with it. And the younger you is completely washed clean. And all that exists is the consciousness of this permission to have health and healing and enlightenment, and to allow greatness to shine, and for creativity to be there, and for you to live wholly expressed as your authentic self, feeling all of your emotions, allowing all the joy of life and the love of life here. All of that and all of the other consciousnesses that you programmed in, let it drench down now through the physical form of the younger you. Every single molecule of existence is that. All the spaces in between are saturated with it, hugging the younger you, letting the younger you merge inside, and now opening a hole in the top of your own head and letting a funnel go up to the heavens, and letting this consciousness, this deluge of grace, wash down now through your brain cells. This deluge of enlightenment, of love, of living from freedom, living the authentic greatness that is here, naturally, feeling all and being expressed in all, health and being allowed to heal, and the body a healing machine, all of it is drenching on down through your brain cells right now, pouring into your eyes, pouring into your face, drenching on down now, into your throat, into your neck, pouring on down now, into your shoulders, into your arms, drenching on down now into the chest and into the upper back, pouring on down now into the solar plexus region, into the back, and pouring on down into the belly, and drenching on down now into your hips and your pelvic region and your backside, drenching on down through your upper thighs, your middle of your thighs, your knees, your legs, your feet, and now shooting out into the environment around you. And just this waterfall of grace is now cleansing even every single molecule of existence is saturated with this. All the spaces in between are suffused and permeated with it. And you are just resting in health-giving, life-giving consciousness, free to be yourself, free to experience all your emotions, to live, enjoy, loving life, free to let love in, free to let love out. Living as your full divine potential, allowing enlightenment here, wisdom here, creativity and genius here. Living your full potential in the freedom and love that is your essence. Just feeling this consciousness that's here right now. The fact that you can even conceive of this means you can start from here. Starting now. And taking a nice deep breath in of this consciousness. And letting it out. And another nice deep breath in. Letting it out. Soaking, steeping in this, as this. And when the eyes are ready, you can open them now into this consciousness that's here right now.